Welcome in. I'm Iris. And this space is where we talk about style, not trends, not runways, not the fashion machine, but the everyday language our clothes speak for us. The grocery store style, the work shift style, the running errands but still myself style, the quiet confidence that shows up even when nobody's watching. Tonight we're sitting with a real question. Why don't we see black owned labels in the everyday pieces we reach for the most? Not the gowns, not the red carpet moments, the daily stuff, the jeans, the tees, the sweats, the things that carry our real lives. This isn't about calling anybody out, it's about understanding the gap between our creativity and our closets. And what it would take for our everyday style to reflect the people who create so much of the culture. Settle in. Let's talk about the clothes we actually live in and the stories they tell. When you walk into Marshall's, a Walmart, a Target, you can find everything except us. Not our labels, not our everyday style, not the pieces we actually live in. And it's not because we don't create, it's not because we don't design. It's not because we don't have taste, talent, or the ability to shift culture with a single silhouette. It's because the everyday clothing world, the jeans, the tees, the sweats, the basics, runs on access, not creativity. And access is the one thing we were never handed. Mass retail has gatekeepers. They want volume, factories, warehouses, shipping contracts, investors backing, and millions of dollars of inventory before your clothes ever touch a rack. Most black owned brands start small because that's what they can afford. Not because they don't want to be in Walmart, but because Walmart requires a level of infrastructure that was never built with us in mind. And when black designers do show up, the industry pushes them into specialty, not every day. A spotlight table, a seasonal feature, but not the regular aisle, not the place where people shop without thinking, not the section where style becomes part of someone's daily life. The deeper truth is this: black women influence the culture, but we're not treated as the default customer. The everyday basics in these stores are designed for a market that was never centered around us. So our everyday style, the real, lived in, running errand style, doesn't get the investment, the manufacturing, or the shelf space it deserves. This isn't about calling anybody out. It's about naming the gap between our creativity and our closets and asking why the women who shape so much of the culture can't find themselves in the simplest parts of the shopping experience. Because style is not just what we wear, it's who we are, and we deserve to see ourselves in the everyday pieces too. As you're listening, take a breath and let these questions move through you at their own pace. Where do you see yourself in the clothes you reach for every day? Not the special pieces, the ones you live in. Do they reflect you or just what was available? When was the last time you felt truly seen by something you put on? Not admired, seen. What would it feel like to walk into a store and find everyday pieces made with your body, your culture, your rhythm in mind? Can you imagine that ease? And underneath it all, what part of you is asking to be represented in the simplest parts of your life? The errands, the mornings, the quiet days, the real you. Let that sit with you. Let it whisper whatever it needs to whisper. And as we sit with that truth, the gap between our creativity and the racks in our local stores, there's another part of the story we need to talk about. Because even though we don't always see ourselves in the everyday aisles, that doesn't mean our people aren't creating. It doesn't mean there aren't black owned labels out there, out here doing the work. making pieces we can reach for, pieces we can afford, pieces that fit into real life. The question becomes, how do we support them? Where do we find them? And what does it look like to bring Black owned style into our everyday rotation, not just our special occasions? Let's talk about the labels that are accessible, the ones that are affordable, the ones that actually show up in places we already shop, or at least in places that don't require a luxury budget or a celebrity connection. Let's get into the Black owned brands that are building for the everyday woman in the everyday life she's living. When we talk about the gap, that missing presence of Black owned everyday labels in the stores we walk through without thinking, the next question becomes, what do we do with the knowledge? Because naming the problem is one thing, but supporting the people who are already building solutions is another. And here's the truth. Black designers are creating everyday pieces. They're making basics, essentials, living clothes that feel like us. They're just not always sitting on the racks at Walmart or Marshall's. Sometimes you have to know where to look. Sometimes you have to know the name before you see the product. But they're out here. Some of them have made their way into places like Target during special occasions. Some show up in TJ Maxx or Marshalls when the buyers decide to take a chance. Some are online only but priced for real life, not luxury budgets, not celebrity closets, just everyday people trying to get dressed and feel good. Brands like Hanifa, Taufar, The Folklore, Brandon Blackwood, Nubian Skin, Myflin, Pyre Moss, Savage X Fenty, Fubu, Revival Pieces, and House of Amma, they're not all luxury and they're not all out of reach. Some of them have tees, sweats, basics, and everyday pieces that cost the same as what you'd grab at the department store. You just won't find them hanging next to the big corporate brands. And then there are the smaller brown owned labels, the ones you might stumble across in local boutique, a pop-up, a marketplace, or even on the shelves of a discount store because a buyer decided to test them out. Those are the brands that feel like home. The ones that remind you that everyday style doesn't have to come from a giant corporation to be good, to be comfortable, to be yours. Supporting them isn't always about spending more. Sometimes it's choosing a brown owned tee over a big box tee when the price is the same. Sometimes it's buying a hoodie from a local designer instead of a mass produced one. Sometimes it's sharing a brand with a friend or wearing it out in public so somebody else asks, "Where did you get that?" Because the more we support them, the more visible they become. And the more visible they become, the harder it is for big stores to pretend they don't exist. This is how everyday style shifts. Not through trends, not through runways, but through real people choosing to show up in clothes that reflect who they are and who they want to support. And maybe one day when we walk into a Walmart or a Marshall's, we'll see a Black owned label sitting right there in the everyday aisle, not as a special feature, but as a special moment, but as a normal part of the shopping experience. That's the goal, that's the vision, and it starts with us. As you think about the labels you reach for, pause for a second and let this question settle. What does everyday support look like in your world? Not the big gestures, the small ones, the quiet choices, the moments when you decide who gets your dollar, your visibility, your word of mouth. And underneath that, what would it feel like to see your culture reflected in the simplest parts of your shopping routine? The basics, the essentials, the things you touch every single week. Let that move through you. Take another breath and let the next question rise without forcing an answer. What kind of everyday style feels true to you? And who is creating pieces that honor that truth? Not the fantasy version of you, the real one. The one running errands, working shifts, living life. And then, what would it mean to choose a brand that sees you, understands you, and design you with you in mind, not as a trend, not as a moment, but as a presence? Let that sit wherever it lands. Now that we've talked about the label, the access, the support, the gaps, there's another layer to this conversation because at the end of the day, style is personal, it's intimate. It's the quiet way you introduce yourself before you ever say a word. An everyday style, the real lived in version, is where your identity shows up the most. Not in the special outfit, not in the curated moments, but in the clothes you reach for without thinking. The pieces that hold your mornings, your errands, your work days, your off days, your real life. This is where your style identity lives. And the question becomes, what does your everyday style say about you? Not the version you perform, the version you actually are. Some people dress for comfort. Some dress for confidence. Some dress for protection, for expression, for ease, for mood, for movement. And some are still figuring out what feels like home on their body. There's no right answer, just an honest one. And when you start paying attention to the pieces you naturally gravitate toward, the colors, the textures, the fits, the silhouettes, you start to see yourself more clearly. You start to understand what you need from your clothes. You start to build a style that doesn't chase trends. It reflects truth. And that's where intentional shopping come in. Not buying more, buying better. Not buying for the moment, buying for the life you actually live. Not buying what's loudest, buying what feels like you. This is where everyday styles become identity, and identity becomes ease. As you think about your own everyday style, let this question rise without rushing it. What does ease look like on your body? And which pieces make the ease feel possible? Not the fantasy version of life, the real one. The mornings, the errands, the work days, the in between moments, the parts of life where comfort and identity meet. Let that settle wherever it needs to. Everyday style deserves to feel honest, grounded, and true. A quiet reflection of a life being lived with intention. And while we're talking about everyday style, let me bring this too. Y'all already know I love an espadrille. That's one of my favorite silhouettes, soft, groundy, easy to wear. And yes, it's featured in my Linktree store because I don't put anything in there that I don't actually wear myself. If it's that store, it's because it's lived on my feet, not just in my cart. And these crazy low heels, the comfortable ones, the ones that don't punish your feet just for wanting to look good, they're still having their moments. Not the skyscraper heels. The ones you can actually walk in, run errands in, live your life in. But ladies, before you order anything, especially heels, check the width, please. It makes a difference. A shoe can be beautiful, but if the width is wrong, the whole experience changes. Comfort is part of style. Ease is part of style. Your feet deserves peace. And since we're here, let's talk color for a second. There are some shades trending this year. Those soft olives, warm browns, muted plums, dusty blues, and that creamy butter yellow that keeps popping up everywhere. But listen, you don't have to follow a trend to be stylish. Trends are suggestions, not rules. If you like the colors, grab them while they're out. If they don't speak to you, leave them right where they are. Style is personal. It's not about chasing what's hot. It's about choosing what feels like home on your body. I've always been a flowy dressed lady, not because I'm hiding anything. That's never been my story, but because that's just who I am. I've always been a maxi girl, a flowy dress, flowy skirt woman. That's my comfort, my ease, my femininity, my movement. And I'm still going to present these pieces for spring and summer because they're timeless. They breathe, they move with you, not against you. And this year, the maxi skirt sets are calling too. The ones that give you that soft, effortless silhouette without trying too hard. The asymmetrical vests and tops are having their moments as well, giving a little edge without losing the softness. And then you've got those satin pieces with the lace trim, technically loungewear, but women are wearing them as dresses now. And honestly, wear what feels good, wear what feels like you. Comfort is a style language too. But now, let's shift because the next segment isn't about what's trending. It's about the casual man, the everyday man, and how he shops, or really, how he doesn't shop. Most men aren't scrolling online for hours. Most men aren't hunting down trends. A lot of the time, their partner is the one adding things to the cart. And when men do shop, they're looking for something specific. Pieces they can't find in the store, pieces that aren't overpriced, pieces that feel like quality without the drama. Men are simple in the best way. They want something that lasts, something that fits, something that feels good on the body, something that doesn't fall apart after two washes. And there are brands out here giving men stylish, quality pieces without the luxury markup. Brands that understand men don't need a closet full of clothes. They need a few good ones that can carry them through real life. Let's get into that. Let's talk about the brands that give men style, quality, and everyday wearability without the noise, without the hype, and without the price tag that makes you close the tab. Wear what you want, but wear it with comfort and conviction. Because when you're not comfortable, the world can feel louder. The stares, the comments, the assumptions. Some people may think it's too much. Some may think it's too plain. But none of that matters when you're standing in something that feels like you, whether your style is influenced or entirely your own. The only thing that truly counts is that you like what you wear. You got the everyday staples, the clean tees, the structured hoodies, the well cut joggers, the button downs that actually fit across the shoulders, the jackets that don't feel cheap. You got the brands that keep it simple, keep it masculine, keep it durable. And then you've got the brick owned and brown owned brands that are stepping into that space. Giving men pieces that feel grown, feel intentional, feel like something you can wear to work, to dinner, to the weekend, without switching your whole identity. These are the brands that understand men want style, but they want it quietly. They want it without fuss. They want it without feeling like they're trying too hard. And that's the lane we're stepping into, the brands that give men stylish quality pieces without the hype, without the markup, and without the headache. Let's get into it. You got the everyday staples from Fear of God Essentials, the clean basics from Cuts, the grown man casual from Good Man Brand, the elevated streetwear from Rude, the polished comfort from Todd Snyder, and the modern classics from John Elliott. Then you've got the black owned and brown owned brands stepping into the lane too. Telford's unisex pieces, Pyre Moss, Mifflin, Brandon Blackwood, the Brooklyn Circus, the Folklore curated menswear, and House of Armor's masculine silhouettes. These are the brands that understand men want style, but they want it quietly. They want it without fuss. They want it without feeling like they're trying too hard. These are the pieces that look good, feel good, and last without the luxury markup, without the headache. Take a moment and let this settle. What does quality feel like on your body, and how often do you choose pieces that actually give you that feeling? Not the hype, not the trend, just the fit, the fabric, the comfort. Let that sit. When you think about the clothes you reach for the most, what do they say about the man you're becoming? Not just the man you've been, because everyday style is a quiet introduction. Let that move through you. Style doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. When a man chooses pieces that fit well, feel good, and reflect who he is, he carries himself with a confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. Now, let's talk about the gym, because this is one of those places where people love to comment on what you wear, even though they barely focus on their own form. And here's the truth: I'm a long sleeve, long leggings, long pants person in the gym. Not because I'm hiding anything, not because I'm insecure, but because I'm smart about my skin, my hygiene, and my comfort. Gym equipment carries everything: sweat, oils, bacteria, cleaning chemicals, and whatever the last 10 people left behind. Even when the staff wipes things down, those disinfectants can be strong. And if you have sensitive skin like I do, that can turn into irritation real quick. Long sleeves and long pants create a barrier. They protect you from the equipment, from the chemicals, from the germs floating around the air. And let's be honest, gyms are high touched, high breathing environments. People are moving, sweating, coughing, wiping their faces, touching equipment, and then touching them something else. That was great. Say touching themselves. Covering your skin doesn't make you invincible, but it does reduce how much your body's exposed to cold viruses, flu droplets, COVID droplets, all of it. And then there's comfort. Modern athletic fabrics are designed to wick sweat, regulate temperature, and keep your skin dry. When your skin stays dry, you're less likely to deal with irritation, chafing, or flare ups. So, wearing long sleeves and long pants isn't about being overdressed, it's about being intentional. Men and women both benefit from this. Men who lift heavy know the bar can scrape your shins. Women know those seats and benches don't always feel clean. Everybody knows that gym air hits different. Covered doesn't mean hidden. Covered means confident. Covered means protected. Covered means you're taking care of your body while you take care of your goals. And if someone looks at you funny, if someone thinks you're doing too much or not doing enough, let them think whatever they want. You're not in the gym for them. You're in the gym for you. Before we move on, take a breath and let this settle. What does protection look like for your body when you're working on yourself? Not the performance, the care, the way you guard your skin, your energy, your space while you're trying to get stronger. And here's another one. How does your confidence shift when you dress in a way that supports your comfort instead of someone else's expectations? Because comfort is confidence too. Let that sit with you. Your body deserves protection. Your skin deserves peace, and your confidence deserves clothing that support your movement, not someone else's opinion. Let me take you into that moment with the jeans, because it was quick, it was simple, and it spoke louder than the whole paragraph. The video opens with this woman walking into a room talking the way we do when we're excited to show our man something. She's holding her phone ready to show him a pair of jeans she found online. A cute pair. You know that, babe, look at these energy. And before she can even finish her sentence, here comes the jeans. Not one pair, not two. A whole handful of jeans flying across the room, landing right in front of her feet. You never see him. You never hear him. Just the jeans, tossed with love, tossed with humor, tossed with that girl, you already have enough energy. And then the clip ends. But the message was loud. It wasn't about controlling her. It wasn't about embarrassing her. It was about how men see us differently than we see ourselves. She saw cute jeans. He saw a woman who already had everything she needed. She saw something new to buy. He saw abundance. She saw a want. He saw a pattern. And the way he threw those jeans, playful, quick, no words needed, is sad. You're enough. You have enough. You don't need more to be beautiful. Sometimes men speak in actions. Sometimes they speak in humor. Sometimes they speak in a way that redirect us without saying a single word. That little skit was a whole conversation about perception, love, and how men see us when we don't even realize they're paying attention. Intentional shopping isn't about buying less. It's about buying right. Buying what fits your life, your body, your rhythm, your budget, your comfort, your truth. Because we've all had those moments. Scrolling late at night, adding things to the cart because they're cute, because they're trending, because somebody else made them look good. But intentional shopping asks a different question. Does this fit the life I actually live? Not the fantasy life, not the one day life, not the influencer life, the real life, the errands, the work days, the weekends, the gym, the moments when you're tired, rushing, or just trying to get out the door. Intentional shopping is about choosing pieces that support you, not stress you. Pieces that feel good on your skin, pieces that don't require a whole performance to wear, pieces that don't sit in the closet with the tag still on. It's also about knowing your patterns, knowing when you're buying out of boredom, knowing when you're buying out of comparison, knowing when you're buying because you saw it on someone else and forgot to ask if it even fits your world. And it's about remembering that you don't have to chase every trend. If you like the trending colors, grab them while they're out. If you don't, leave them right where they are. Your style doesn't need permission. Intentional shopping is freedom. It's clarity. It's choosing what feels like home on your body. What pieces in your closet feel like they were chosen with intention? And what pieces feel like they were chosen in a moment you weren't really thinking about yourself? Let that whisper to you. When you picture the life you're actually living right now, what clothes support that life and what clothes distract from it? Let that settle wherever it needs to. Every choice you make for your body, your comfort, and your peace is valid. You deserve clothes that support your life, not complicated. Now let's talk about what the fashion world is calling not hot this season. And I want to be clear before we even start. I don't believe in telling people what they can't wear. I believe in style, the kind that comes from your body, your comfort, your confidence, your life. When you hear that something is not in style, what part of you reacts? The part that wants to fit in or the part that knows what feels good on your body? Let that whisper to you. But in the fashion media, the runways, the trend reports, the style blogs, there are things they are pushing to the side this year. Not because they're wrong, just because the industry has moved on to something else. They're saying the overly distressed denim is fading out. They're saying the super tight bodycon everything is taking a backseat. They're saying the loud logos, the heavy branding, the look at me pieces are cooling down. They're saying the ultra chunky sneakers are stepping aside for the cleaner silhouettes. They're saying the neon era is quieting down. They're saying the micro mini everything is losing steam. But here's the truth. If you feel good in it, it's not out. If it fits your life, is not wrong. If it makes you walk different, stand different, breathe different, it's still hot for you. The industry moves fast. Style moves with you. So, yes, we can talk about what's not in the fashion world, but I'm always going to bring it back to this. Wear what makes you feel like yourself. Wear what makes you comfortable. Wear what makes you confident. Wear what makes you smile when you catch your reflection. Because the only thing that truly not hot is wearing something that doesn't feel like you. When you hear that something is not in style, what part of you reacts? The part that wants to fit in or the part that knows what feels good on your body? Let that whisper to you. How often do you choose pieces because they feel like you, not because the fashion world approved them? Because your comfort is the real trend. Let's talk about wearing respectful clothing because people love to throw that phrase around without ever explaining what it really means. Respectful clothing isn't about hiding your body. It isn't about being ashamed of your curves, your shape, your confidence, or your style. It isn't about dressing like somebody's grandmother just to make the world comfortable. Respectful clothing is about context. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that everything cannot be worn everywhere. Not because you're wrong, but because the environment is different. When you're out with the small children, for example, the energy shifts. You're bending, lifting, reaching, running, holding hands, picking up toys, wiping faces, chasing toddlers. You're in public spaces where other people's children are present too. You're in environments where you want to feel secure, covered, and able to move without adjusting yourself every 5 seconds. Respectful clothing simply means dress in a way that respects the moment you're in. If you're at the beach, wear the bikini. If you're at the brunch, wear the fitted dress. If you're at a school event, maybe save the cutout jumpsuit for later. If you're at the playground, maybe the micro mini skirt isn't the most practical choice. It's not about shame. It's about situational awareness. It's about comfort, movement, safety, and presentation, especially when little eyes are watching and learning. And here's the part people forget. Respectful clothing doesn't mean boring clothing. You can be covered and still fine. You can be modest and still be magnetic. You can be appropriate and still be stylish. Respect is not the enemy of expression, it's the balance. When you get dressed for different environments, what guides your choices? Your comfort, the setting, or the reactions you expect from others? Let that settle. How does your style shift when you're around children, family, or community spaces? And what does that say about your values? Let that whisper to you. Your style can honor your confidence in your environment at the same time. You are allowed to be expressive, intentional, and appropriate without losing yourself. This podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. The views expressed are those of the host and guest and do not constitute professional advice. Listener discretion is advised. In every thread, a story told, a dance of carriage, bright and bold, confidence woven, style that sings, a soul that shines on fearless wings. Wear your truth. Let colors gleam in every step. Live your dream, not just fabric, but spirit's art. A masterpiece from heart to heart. Mark your calendars for April 28th at 8 p.m. Join us for a fresh dive into style, identity, and the stories we wear. Leave comments, share, and subscribe. We need you and your input to keep this conversation alive. Before you go, take a moment to check in with yourself. Not the outfit, not the label, not the trend, just you. What feels true today? What feels heavy? What feels light? What feels like you? That's your mirror moment. In a whisper soft, the stories told of hearts that dare, of souls so bold. Life's dance, a rhythm, wild and free. Love's gentle touch, the rest, the key. Thank you for spending this time with me on Life, Love, and the rest of it. If you felt something, learned something, or just enjoyed the conversation, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you're listening. This is just the beginning, and I want you here for the rest of the journey. Until next time, take care of your life, protect your love, and honor the rest of it. This is Iris.